We are live.
Hello.
Give it a second. It's just setting it up. It takes a minute to get it going, and it's done. Yay. We are live.
Yes, done.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi. Give it a second. It's just setting it up. It takes a minute to get it going, and it's done.
And we are
live.
Live. Hello.
Hi. Give it a second. It's just setting it up. It takes.
Oops.
Okay. I just had to put my sound off, so it's not doing that whole reverb thing. So welcome. Hi. Can you hear me okay?
Hi. Yes.
Hey, so Katie, we are here representing the Conscious Beauty Collective. We're here from Masami's channel. We got loads of videos on our channel, but honestly, this is going to be the most exciting one anyone's going to see for a long time, because we have Katie from Melixir here, and she's going to share with us what makes Melixir. And I'm just really excited to dig into your brand because I met your founder, Hannah, back, I want to say 2019 at TechCrunch. And I kind of feel like there's a kindred spirit, like we were on similar journeys as clean beauty founders. And TechCrunch was a strange place to be because it's so tech focused. And here I'm the beauty entrepreneur and she's a beauty entrepreneur. And we sort of find each other among this, you know, crazy world of tech people. And so I've had an affinity and I've been watching your brand sort of ever since. And it was so great to have you guys be part of the Conscious Beauty Collective now. So I would love to talk a little bit more about just anything you want to talk about in terms of how your brand got started and where you're at in your journey. And I want to introduce James real quick before we jump in, because he's on too. James is my partner and my co-founder on Masami, and he's live from New York City, and I'm live from Palm Springs, and Katie's live from San Francisco.
Yay.
All over.
All over. It's the beauty of technology. So anyway, so Katie, take it away.
Thank you, Lynn, first of all, for that introduction. And also thank you, James, for hosting us today. I'm very excited to be here and also to be part of Conscious Beauty Collective. I can't believe it's already been a week since launch time.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been preparing for a long time though, so I feel like it's just been going on for months, but it's only been a week. And I think we kicked it off very successfully, met all of the other founders last weekend at our launch event. And I think that's part of the beauty of doing this collective pop-up, is because, like, especially for us, since we're from Korea, it's very hard to meet brand founders from other brands who are on the same journey as us. But this was just a great opportunity. And a little intro about myself. I am not the founder of Melixir. I am the marketing lead. The founder is Hannah, but unfortunately she's on a plane right now, so she couldn't join us today. But to give you a little rundown of our brand, Melixir is a vegan skincare brand rooted in Korean skincare rituals backed by science. And our values are inspired by Eastern philosophy, which means that we believe that nature is the purest form of beauty, which is why we create plant-based skin, body, and hair products that have clean formulas, and also cruelty-free, and we use sustainable packaging. All our products are made for sensitive skin. What else? We were founded in Korea, but now we moved our headquarters over to San Francisco. So we're based in the Bay Area, and that's where I am right now.
That's amazing. Okay, so just so I understand, so when did you start the business, or Hannah start the business in Korea? How long has it been there? Because I know you guys have quite a following there.
Yes, so Melixir first started in 2018. But Hannah had this idea back in 2014, I believe. She was actually working at another beauty company based in San Francisco, and she was getting a lot of feedback from customers back then that a lot of products and brands back then were still testing on animals. Actually, most brands were testing on animals. And so after hearing the voices raised by the beauty community. Hannah decided that she wanted to put an end to the unhealthy status quo of the industry and create a skincare brand that helps and inspires people to be more mindful of what they put into their bodies every single day.
You know, it's so interesting because that sounds very similar to James's philosophy, and when he was going through the process of trying to figure out our formulations over 10 years. And
Yeah, it's this very similar concept of why I was very determined to find clean ingredients that would perform well together. And that's a huge process. It doesn't just happen overnight. So
Right.
I congratulate you guys for being so determined and aggressive in being able to come up with ingredients that could create such a lovely skincare brand that you guys launched. And over in San Francisco, I assume that your market is in Korea was exploding, or it was growing. No?
Yeah, we were actually the first vegan skincare brand in Korea. And so like
Okay.
veganism is still a
Wow.
pretty new concept in Korea, but I think people are now just starting to catch on. And so we're growing like exponentially, but of course, like in the US, there's so many clean, vegan, sustainable brands here in the US market. And so right now, I mean, we just launched in the US last year in 2021. So it's kind of different, our strategy back in Korea and here in the US. But right now we're trying to break through in the cluttered space of all the various beauty brands here today. But yeah, doing it day by day, slowly but surely.
it really is it's a day in, day out, right? I mean, I sometimes talk about it's like hand-to-hand combat because you just feel like you're in the trenches and it's every day. But let me ask you, what do you think is harder? Do you think it's harder being the pioneer in Korea for vegan? Or do you think it's harder being one of lots of brands here in the US?
Good question.
I think it's harder being one of the lots of the many brands that already exist, because all the other brands here are still great. Like I still use like other products. Like one of my favorite brands right now is Used to the People. And so like all of the products are effective. Like they all have a great cause. If you hear about like the founder stories, like you resonate with like why they started. Everyone has like a great message. And so it's like, how can we, differentiate ourselves and part of the amazing like other brands?
Yeah, that is the challenge, isn't it? Because for us, people are like, well, there are loads of hair care brands, but we're like, yeah, but none with our secret sauce and none that give you the weightless hydration and not, so it is tricky though. So let's talk about what makes you different. I think that's a great segue. Do you have any kind of hero ingredients? Do you have any kind of processes? And by the way, I'm going to give you a heads up. I want to talk more about your packaging and your approach to sustainability, because that's so interesting. And I think we can learn from that too. But yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about what you think makes your products different?
Sure. You mentioned ingredients, so I'll talk about that first. We have a proprietary ingredient called green elixir, and it's basically made up of all sorts of different extracted, like plant-based extracts. And basically it's the foundation of our products for sensitive skin. But on top of that, we piled on other ingredients that are sourced from Asia. So all of the ingredients are based on like Asian, like lotus leaf or, rice, or even like oat honey, like it's from Korea. Even like the green tea that makes up our toner, it's also sourced from Korea. So all the ingredients are based in Asia. All the entire formulation.
You're able to track your supply chain, I think, right? The way you're talking about it.
Yes.
Because you guys have those connections in Asia and in Korea. And that's really important, I feel like, because if I was just to buy those products, it would be like, you wouldn't know the quality necessarily. Do you know what I mean? Like buying them from here. but I think because you guys have that heritage, you're able to make sure they're ethically sourced. And yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, that's really interesting that you mentioned that, because we actually get a lot of questions through like our information email asking like very, very specific questions about our ingredients. Like, hey, like, do you contain, like, do you have this, like, where is it sourced from? Like the coconut oil, like, where is it sourced from? Is it from like Thailand? Because like people are very conscious about like, you know, the coconut farms and how they use like monkeys, like people are very against that. So when we get very specific questions like that, like we're able to answer it and say, no, like they're not from the farms that use monkeys to source the coconuts, because we have that very like transparent process.
Yeah, I think that's just super important. And we found that too. Now, have you found it's harder now with COVID and the supply chain, or has it been because you have connections? Is it been fine for you? Because we've had our own issues with sourcing, packaging, and certain ingredients and whatnot.
Yeah, I think for us, because we source everything in Asia, it's been a little bit easier during COVID, but now bringing the products to the US, that's been hard due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I
So
can
do
imagine.
you make your products in the US or do you make them in Korea?
We make all of our products in Korea.
You do, okay. Does anyone here in the US push back on that at all? Because you know, there's certain places where made in the US is a thing, but I don't think that's a big enough thing to deter, obviously. Well, I guess you could say the flip side of that is there are a lot of people who love Asian products and the authenticity of something that's being made there, that's being brought here.
Yeah, I think people overall are actually supportive that all of the products are made in Korea. But we do sometimes get questions like, oh, because Korea is nearby China, like, are you sure the products aren't made in China? Because in China, they still have animal testing and stuff. So I think people are a little like confused about that. But we just make sure to tell them, no, it's 100% manufactured in Korea.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And talk a little bit about your packaging, because I just want to know from my own my own learning, because it's so hard to create sustainable packaging and get the MOQs right and get stuff that, you know, works in recycle bins and whatnot. Even with pumps, and you guys have pumps. Pumps are very hard to recycle.
Yeah.
But yeah, how do you approach that?
Yeah, so I have the hand wash here. I think this is the pump that you were talking about. I have some other products like our lip butter and our deep hydration cream. So the first,
Is it glass, the bottle? Sorry. Is it made out of something else? It's glass. Okay.
glass, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty heavy,
Yeah.
but we did this for a reason. We thought it was more sustainable than packaging or than plastic.
Yeah.
And also the content inside, this is actually a vitamin C cream, which is why we have to keep it away from like the sunlight.
Right.
That can mess up the formulation. So it's in this dark glass jar. But going back to what I was saying about Melixir's #1 employee, she was the first employee at Melixir, and she actually designs all of our packaging in-house. And I know that sometimes like even like deciding on one like pump for a product, it could take her almost a year to sort the right one. And we just keep going back and forth with our manufacturer. Currently it's Cosmex, which is like the #1 cosmetics manufacturer in Korea. And they work with a lot of other brands too. And so we see, we purchase a lot of products from other brands as well and see what they do. We compare it to our brand. We go back to Cosmex and ask, hey, like this seems like a really good pump. Like, what are they using? And then they help us source that. But we go through a lot of trials. of course.
Yeah, no, we do too. It's so
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so what's your favorite product out of the Melixir line?
I would say probably the deep hydration cream. It's the latest product that launched in the US currently. We first launched in Korea. And then what we do is we launch only a small batch at a time. And we do that because after the first launch, we want to get initial feedback from our customers. And so after about like 1,000 customers, we take it back and maybe change up the formulations depending on the feedback. Or like, for example, our like body lotion, we had some feedback that the pump was a little bit harder to use because the body lotion is a thicker formula than like our hand wash. And so we take that back and then we upgrade it almost. But anyways, my favorite product right now is the deep hydration cream because it contains like vitamin C capsules that melt when you're rubbing it into your skin. And you can use as morning and night, but the most important thing is that you wear sunscreen if you're wearing it during the day because of vitamin C. But overall, it helps soothe your skin if it's irritated. It's obviously, as the name says, it's very hydrating. And yeah, it also brightens your skin. It contains coral extracts, basil extracts, and then panthenol, which is to soften your dry and flaky skin.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think we're getting close to our end here, but this was super informative. But I wanted to ask you, what product from the Conscious Beauty Collective are you dying to try?
Oh, well, I want to say, well, can I say Masami?
Of course
And
you
it's not
can.
be-
We're not gonna
it's
say
not
no to
because-
that.
It's not because you're not, it's not because you're here, but we also did a podcast together last week, Lynn, and you mentioned that by using Masami hair products, you don't have to wash your hair as often.
True.
True.
And so,
Oh,
like
yeah.
my hair gets very oily. Like even if I take a shower in the morning, by the end of the day, it gets super oily. I want to experience that like hydration, but also lasting enough where it's not like oily.
Yeah. I think you'll love it. That's awesome. All right. Besides us though, is there any other brand that caught your eye?
I want to say maybe Hear Me Raw.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, I was actually delivering some of their products to the store one weekend and I saw their packaging. It's so like bright. It just caught my eye. But there were a lot of people like standing by the Hear Me Raw shelf and I heard some really good stuff. So I definitely want to check them out.
That's a good one. Mike Endersky's the founder and he's done a great job with that brand. And he's so championing like vegan and clean and nothing toxic. And it's great because he's really vocal and it's good for all of us. So we love having him in the Conscious Beauty Collective.
Yeah. And the packaging is like reusable too.
Yes.
Right? You just throw away the
Got those
content.
little, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's cool. I love it. Well, I'm going to be back in San Francisco in about 2 weeks. So I'll see you then, hopefully.
Oh, great. I'll still be here.
Great. So in the meantime, though, thank you so much for joining us. And it's great to hear more of your story. I love all the stuff you're doing and hopefully we can do more together. That'd be fun.
Yes.
It's a pleasure to meet you.